I would imagine that if we, with the exception of being grayer and a little old, a little older, a little bit more worn, I would imagine that if you could pick any one of the last 6 or 7 years and break out my 4 days before our first game press conference, and I would imagine I'd say the exact same thing that I said every year. And I don't do that intentionally. It's just that I've been doing it a long time, and my thought pattern is going to be very similar. We don't know what we don't know, and we're going to find out a lot about ourselves in the next week with the game on Sunday at Furman. Again, just want to thank the NCAA for another great rule change, just another really good idea, and that is allowing us to play other Division I opponents, and then allowing us to be able to have these games in front of the public and be able to do something with the proceeds. So we're going to go to Greenville, and I know that they're working on a really important park projects for their community. And then, of course, on Friday, the November 1st, we're going to have the Melton Scholars game, which is really significant for us to be able to raise money for first-generation college students and those Melton Scholars to help recruit and retain the best possible students we can at Auburn, and help us with diversity. So it's a really good deal. Why Furman? Because Bob Ritchie is a great offensive coach. They're going to have pretty good talent. They've always one of the best teams in the SoCon. And they're going to have a nice crowd over there, and it'll be a really good environment for us to go, and we'll be challenged. Last year when we played them in here, JP was on that team, and so got a chance to see him up close and personal, and it was like 33-31. And I think then it was a private scrimmage. I believe it was a private scrimmage, so. It was close. We wound up wearing them down a little bit. We wound up turning them over a little bit, and we were successful. And I felt good about how we played because I thought we played really, really hard. Now this is going to be public, so this is not a private scrimmage, but I can tell you that it was very competitive. We'll go over there healthy with one exception. Miles Kelly has not practiced about a week and a half due to some illness, and he's not injured, but he has some illness and it's this kind of illness that just takes some time to recover from. I'm hopeful that we get Miles back next week, and so and he's obviously Miles had a great preseason, and will be an important part of our team.
Just how have you seen his preseason go, and just him fitting in, being a point guard,
Yep.
In this system?
Yep. I thought JP had a really good summer. I thought he had a really good start to the fall, and then for about 2 or 3 weeks, he had the first bit of a struggle, and what I really like about it was the last 2 or 3 weeks he's been really on point. He's really been focused and worked his way through just the learning curve, continuing the learning curve of how we guard, what we play, trying to get an understanding of all the different positions. It's like trying to come in and play quarterback and just be a first-year guy playing quarterback. It's hard to be a first-year guy playing quarterback. It just is. You don't know the system. You've never played in the system. You don't know what works, what doesn't work. You don't know what adjustments are made. And so it's the hardest position to make that adjustment from in a short period of time. I think he's done a really good job with it. JP is, like a lot of my point guards, a really good scoring point guard. JP can score. He can really shoot the basketball. He can get downhill, makes pretty good plays, makes pretty good decisions. He's a smart player. He's a really solid defender. He's worked hard on his defense. One of the things that any player transitioning from mid-major to high major will tell you is the physicality, the speed, the athleticism at this level is just something you can't, really prepare for. It's a step up. And so dealing with all that is something he's dealt with all summer and all fall. And again, I think he's done a good job. We will play Denver, we will play JP, and we might even play Todd a little bit at that point guard position. But really pleased with JP. He's been a really good leader, and he does everything. One of our hardest workers. He does everything you ask him to do. Pretty good. He's a pretty good Auburn man for just being at Auburn. Just kidding here.
Bruce, you mentioned after tip-off that you had, some concerns and you were looking forward to seeing this team against somebody else. What are maybe some of those specific things that you've been concerned about? What do you want to see in this game?
I mean, whether or not we're going to be able to end possessions, with a rebound. I would say because we had a pretty good summer and a pretty good fall, it just seems like this has been it seems like it's the longest time we've had. I can remember before we played. We needed a game about 2 weeks ago, and I've talked to a number of coaches, and they've all sort of said the same thing, And it's amazing, even these next 3 days, like I haven't even taught our under basket out of bounds defense, like how we press out of bounds. I haven't taught it yet. We haven't done it yet. Done it once. We may not even do it today. We may do it tomorrow for the first time. I haven't even taught how we might press on the side. I haven't even taught it yet. I have turnover, loose ball. I haven't even taught how to attack a 3-2 zone, which I found out today they might play a little bit of. So I got to do a couple things to be prepared for that. There are just a lot of things that we haven't put in yet. Now, all that we put in, it's a lot to remember for a lot of new guys. And then when you got guys that are playing two positions, like for example, my freshmen, both Ja'Kai Howard and Todd Pettiford are going to play two positions. I don't like to do that, but there have been a number of reasons why I'm doing it. Partly because they're both really talented. So Todd's going to play 1 and 2. That is hard because the 2 and the 3 are the same position, but they're on different sides of the floor. Ja'Kai Howard's going to play 2 and 3. That's a lot. And so when you're out there thinking before you're out there playing, you don't typically play as well when you have to think first. And that's just something that all freshmen, will go through.
Coach, speaking of the things that you've put in, over the last season, we saw Janai add the three-pointer to his game. How does that affect what you've put in, and will we continue to see him evolve there?
Yep. Janai's going to continue to be an inside-out player, both offensively and defensively. And we will have Janai and Dylan on the floor at the same time for periods of time during the course of the game. And that would be new from last year. We did it when Jalen Williams got hurt. We did it at Georgia. And so that'll be different for us this year, where we're going to be a little bigger. But then if we do get bigger, are we going to be too slow, not quick enough, not fast enough to play the way we want to play?
Bruce, you were talking about the exhibitions and how much you like the NCAA allowing these now. You guys have obviously played D1 teams, behind closed doors, but what's the benefit of playing, more Division I teams like in these exhibitions publicly, getting a couple of them to start the season compared to in years past where you may play like a D2 team or something like that, in front of everybody?
Well, I mean, I would say that, like, one of the things I've made sure the guys do is Circle Vermont. Like right now, Circle Vermont. That's the one that counts. Now these games matter too. We're gonna keep score, and we'll see how we do. And I'm not gonna be experimenting. I'm gonna be doing everything I can to win these games. But Vermont's the one that counts. So if we don't play very well against Furman or Florida Atlantic, I won't be happy, won't be pleased. We'll work on things. Or if we play really well in these first couple games, don't get too excited about it because these don't count. We gotta keep growing. We gotta get better. We gotta get ready for Vermont. Vermont's won their league like more than they've lost their league. Like they're gonna come in really, really good. And then of course Houston, and then Kent State. Don't get me going.
All right, last question, Hoke. BP Cheney, I guess what have you seen from him, and I guess has he reacted any to the potential of Dylan and Janai playing together? Like has that elevated him? Like I need to get back out there a little bit.
I think both Cheney and Turtle would be like, well, I wouldn't expect it necessarily for Janai to play a ton of 4, and I don't expect him to play a ton of 4, but he'll play some. And then Cheney and Jaheim, their job is to continue to play better and better and better so that the minutes that are at the 4 split between them and not a whole lot of Janai at the 4. Dylan's job is to play really well so that he and Janai play together. Janai and Dylan's job is to play well together so they can continue to play together. And that clearly is a work in progress. Cheney's challenge is to be as aggressive when he's out there with Auburn as he is when he's out there on the scout team. Like last week, which is a lot of fun for guys to get on the scout team. I try and take 2 or 3 scholarship guys and put them on scout teams. Last week was the last week of getting ready for somebody else. So we were working on North Carolina last week, and we had one of North Carolina's better players at force position. So I said, Cheney wants you to be that guy. Well, he played great. We couldn't guard him. We couldn't keep him out of lane. He was driving the ball to the basket. Nobody could stay in front of him. He was aggressive, and I'm like, nobody's saying that you can't do that when you're playing for Auburn. But when he's playing for Auburn, he's playing in a role, and he wants to be he wants to be able to do what he's supposed to do. Look, he's a terrific athlete, and getting him to use his athleticism, his size, his physicality, his motor running all the time. Sometimes his motor doesn't run. Sometimes he doesn't pressure the ball. Sometimes he doesn't run the lane. Sometimes he doesn't post up. Sometimes he plays not as aggressively as he should. And if he'll do that, he'll be even more effective.